a whole bunch better, my man.
Is that
yeah,
better?
now I'm golden.
Nice. Is everybody getting that now?
Yeah, much
Awesome.
better.
Sorry about that, everybody. Here, I'll start back a little bit. Sorry about that. All right, so this is the home page here. And again, the updates will be up here in the upper right. Thanks for interrupting there, Brent. I appreciate it, man. And then this shows you some of the reports that I've published, and it shows that it's published. So you can just sort of see all your reports here. And then this is that submit feedback button I was showing you. And then down here is the settings. And again, this is where you can control your company information. So this is the contract and stuff. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Yep, pretty straightforward. So when you want to create a new report, you just hit create a new report. And boom, you open up your report. Obviously, we'll do a sample report here, but you can type in the client name, the client email, property address, the agent name, agent email. When you're done with the report and you hit publish, you can either publish and without sending an email, and it generates a link. So if you're using like the ISN or you want to send an email personally, you can just send the link. Or if you have it published with the email addresses, you can just send the report straight from the application, so you don't have to mess around with it, which actually saves you a lot of time. You don't have to copy links and stuff if you don't want to. A really cool feature here is you can copy any report. So that can be helpful when you're doing re-inspections. It can be helpful for creating sample reports. Sometimes you end up doing the same house a bunch and you can copy it and put different names on it and put different pictures in it and that kind of stuff. So it's actually a nice little feature there. So this is an open report. You can create as many different templates as you want. So Brent is with us. He might have an infrared template. You could have multifamily templates. Some of these are templates I built for some of our users, like we had a guy in New Jersey I built a template for. So, but it's somewhat unlimited. You can save and tweak as many different templates as you want. We'll be just doing the basic default sort of residential template at the moment. Mike from Kentucky was asking about pest inspections. So Mike, this is where you can turn the pest inspection on or off. So that's pretty easy. If you're not including a pest inspection, you leave it off. And if you are, you just toggle it on. And I'll show you how that works a little more, but that's a pretty nice, easy thing. You can obviously put how much somebody paid for the inspection. You can put whether they paid or not. The software will automatically generate either a receipt or an invoice, and you can say how they paid if they did pay. So all pretty straightforward stuff there. We do have a frequently used comments thing right at the very start. And this is, you can customize this. So any comments you want, if you use them all the time, you can put this right in a frequently used comment. So, you could even come through and if there's prune vegetation off the house, level 2 inspection, the gutters are clogged and need to be cleaned, GFIs didn't reset, we might not want that one. Basic sewer scope. By checking these, you can just put all that stuff into the report without you're literally just checking boxes. So I can show you how you build that, but it's easy to build your own list of frequently used comments that goes right at the beginning. So on this side, on the left side, these are all the chapters. And these can be resequenced, retitled. You can add more of them. You can take them out. So it's really unlimited customization here for what you want as far as chapters. And then within each chapter, you can click on it and you have sections. So, within grounds, we have drainage and lot location, driveways, walkways, and flat work. And then Mike, I know we've got Mike who is using HomeGauge, but I think they call it styles and materials, and our version of that is what we call the descriptive pull downs. And so the clearance to grade could be standard, the downspouts discharge below grade, and the site you could have a moderate slope. all of those can be customized and tweaked somewhat ad nauseum, so that's cool. This is really important logic of ScribeWare, and it's something that I think makes the reports stand out and makes the logic great. You'll notice that we've got a crawl space chapter here. We'll click on that. There's nothing filled out in this chapter. What that means is that this chapter is available to you. If the house you're inspecting has a crawl space, you can start filling it out. But if you never touch that chapter, it won't print. When you go to publish, that chapter will not be there. And it's really cool logic that applies to every chapter and every section within the report. If you don't fill something out, it's just going to stay blank or not even be in the report. And what that allows you to do is just build a pretty rich template where you've got, so for example, under my laundries and additional plumbing, I have fire suppression systems, irrigation, water filters, pools and spas. And, there's a good chance I never use those on any one given inspection. But kind of nice to have those in case you run into them. Just they're available for you. Does that all make sense, guys?
So far.
Cool. Yeah, pretty straightforward. So now within
Can I ask a question just for a second?
Please do.
Once you make a category like plumbing, let's say, how do you make the subcategories under that heading?
Yeah, let's do that. So let's go into plumbing for a minute, and then if you hit this button right here, that's going to actually create a whole other plumbing chapter, which is unlikely you need 2 plumbing chapters. So we'll get rid of that one. What is really likely is that you might need more bathrooms. So let's just go to bathrooms for a minute. My default template has a powder bathroom, a family bathroom, a master bathroom, and a guest bathroom. But you might have a house that's got 7 bathrooms, so you just hit the plus sign, and we're going to just add 2 more bathrooms, 3 more bathrooms. And then to rename them, you come up here, and you could call this West Basement Bathroom. You can just sort of, you could call this the garage bathroom, whatever you want, right? So you keep adding bathrooms so that you really have unlimited ability to keep adding chapters. So then within each section, you've got, let's say, sinks and cabinets. Now, let's say you wanted to add a section. You could click on that. Now you've got 2 sinks. You could retitle it if you want to. You could call it anything you want, but we could call it sinks and cabinets 2, or just probably number 2 there. Does that make sense? I mean, all of these can be sort of customized, whatever you want, and it's just hitting the little plus or minus button just keeps adding or subtracting things. That makes sense?
Yes, sir.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. So now you'll notice that the next part of customization are these little pens that you see. And this is really only for template creation. So if you're just once you're done with your template, you really don't need to fiddle with these, but I'll just show you what they do. If you click on this pen, now you see every chapter and every section available. And this is where you can start resequencing things. So you can just start dragging them around to however you want them. So again, every chapter and every section the sequence can be changed as much as you want. So there's really no limits there. That makes sense.
May I interrupt for one more second, sir?
You there, Brent?
Yeah. So you mentioned chapters. So if you're starting from a blank template, what do you click on to make a chapter?
I haven't used the blank template, so I don't know. You don't have any plus signs or anything?
No, I got nothing.
All right, that might be a question for Steve because that's just kind of a brand new thing. He just built a blank template, but I'm surprised if you click on a pen, is there nothing, and there's no plus signs or anything?
Well, to be honest with you, I haven't delved into it that deep.
There's probably something. Yeah, I look for either the pen or the plus sign to be able to do that. He made that for you, and I haven't sort of played with that yet, so I don't know.
So the chapters potentially I can get into with a pen. And so once I make a chapter, how do I make a section?
Again, like just adding plus signs, you know.
I got you. All right.
And this will be a question for Steve on that blank template of just what you wanted, you know, how the very first ones start. I assume he populated it with something that gets you started, like a blank chapter and a blank section.
Yeah, I'd have to go look.
Yeah, and so from there, you're just hitting those plus things. That's all you really need to know.
Dylan, can I make a comment?
Yep.
If you're not talking, mute your mic and you won't have that feedback.
Oh, cool. Thank you. You're just talking to the whole group here? Or was that, you think that was coming from me?
Yeah, no, it was coming from users who are sitting with their mics open.
Cool. Yeah, so that's right. You guys can all, to prevent that feedback, thanks, Gary, you can just mute your mic until you need to speak. But nice to be able to speak. So cool. Thanks, Gary. All right, well, I'll keep rolling if that makes sense. So so let's say, again, I've already kind of done this, but if you're doing a house and it's got, you know, 6 water heaters, you can go to the water heater section and you can just keep hitting a plus, and you can water heater, detached garage. So again, it's pretty unlimited for adding and being flexible. If you've got the biggest house in the world or a tiny small house, doesn't really matter. That's pretty easy. So let's see.
When you add the template and you're done with it, does it stay on your next template around, or does it come back fresh?
Yeah, so that's a good.
In other words,
that's where. So let's say Mike is interested in using this, and he's got a bunch of guys, and we would be doing a bunch of template work. So whenever you're done saving your template permanently, you come here to hit the Save the Report template, and you could name it whatever you want. So it could be, you know, Gary's Residential or whatever. And my advice whenever you're doing template work is to never, you know, to always, I have one that I constantly save, and I call it the master template. And I just always go back to that one to construct my template. And all the other changes, like when I'm adding water heaters and stuff, the software is pretty smart. It will ask you the question. So if I add another chapter, or another section for a water heater and call it water heater garage. Let's see, where is that? See how it says save the changes to the template, or no, just apply to this report. So if you just ignore it, it's only going to apply it to the report. But I try to kind of, when I'm actually doing an inspection, I try to not mess with my template, and that way my template's always the same and I don't break it, if that makes sense. You guys with me there?
Yes.
Because it's easy when you're doing, you know, you do a house with 7 water heaters and by accident you save the template, and all of a sudden, you know, you don't want 7 water heaters in there permanently. So, you know, that's I try to always just work on my template separately than when I'm doing a live inspection. If you ever do break the template, Steve, because all this stuff backs up in the cloud, you could actually shoot him a note and say, hey, can you, get my template back for me? And he can do that. It's all sort of saved in a place in the cloud, if that makes sense.
Question for you on the template. Can you lock the template?
That's a good question. I bet Steve could lock it, but that would be a question for him a little bit. But yeah, if you have a whole bunch of different guys using it, there would probably be a way that he could disable it so that, that you could do all the customization on the fly, but that you basically just can't mess with the original template.
Thank you.
Yeah, that would be smart for especially multi-inspection firm for sure. And I'm sure Steve can do that. I haven't needed to because I'm just sort of lone wolf. I can mess my own template up all I want. Yeah, doing my own thing. So cool. Now I want to show you guys, this is like some of the exciting new stuff that we've been coming up with pull downs. So, I got to show you one more thing first. So we still haven't gotten into photos. So over here on the right is kind of where all the photo magic happens. So you've got this button, and this button would go to your diagrams. And I'll show you how you can connect to that at some point. But then this one goes to your pictures. So if you click this media button, that's going to open up basically, your ability. If you guys are like me, every time you do a home inspection, you have a bunch of pictures, and I try to have one folder per house, so we'll come in here. I took a house I did yesterday to just make a demo of it. So we'll highlight that. And when we do that, it's going to start connecting to that folder, and then it shows all of my pictures that I took yesterday right here. And you can see on your photo bar, you can sort of increase or decrease the size of the images all you want, and change the size of it. We've got a couple users. Mike Paris really is great with having a second monitor, which is pretty cool. And you can have them in a really big format on a second monitor. So anyway, that's how you get your pictures sort of connected to ScribeWare. And I'd love to show you, I'll start dropping some in a minute here, and we'll just start kind of working on a report a little bit. One of the things that we built in the new template that if you download it as kind of default are these new descriptions. So let's say this house has stucco for a minute. You can see how some of these are blue, and the blue means I actually have a comment attached to it, in this case a descriptive comment. So as soon as you type stucco, it's saying, this building has a hard coat stucco siding system. When installed over wood buildings, stucco should be installed with 2 layers of underlayment below the plaster and a weep screed system, which allows air to dry, blah, 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 blah. So, these are just kind of this stuff that doesn't show up in a summary page, but is just kind of available literally at the click of a button. The cool thing, too, is if you decide you don't want that disclaimer, you just go like that and it's gone. So you can just get rid of stuff. And that's an important logic with kind of this newer template, is that my theory is that it's a heck of a lot easier to hit the trash button and just get rid of some things that I don't want, rather than hunting around looking for my stucco disclaimer comment that I want to put in there. So you'll see more and more of these places where when you're going to put, and again, it's sort of Home Gauge might call these the what do they call them in Home Gauge? I think the materials and styles. But we built a lot of language in. This is a really good one for fiber cement, but this was Charlie Buell had this great idea that, we often comment on fiber cement siding like we know it's hardy plank when it may not be. If as soon as you check that it's fiber cement siding, a note comes in that says, manufacturers of fiber cement have done a poor job helping inspectors and consumers distinguish their products after installation. These products have few, if any, distinguishing characteristics. This report will cite James Hardie manufacturer installation requirements for reference, because they're the most common manufacturer of fiber cement siding, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, some nice language there that's sort of helping to sort of cover yourself, and literally that comes up by just clicking that button. And you're just, it's fiber cement siding. The house has a rain screen system. I've got an EFIS comment built in. So that makes sense on those descriptors and how they come in.
Yes, it does, and I'll just make one extra comment on that as to what I've seen, and that is stucco that it needs a defect. But a lot of us don't put what we don't see or information, and this description makes that, let's see how to say this, it adds that what I don't see, the opportunity to write what you don't see or some other information that might protect you.
Yep.
We're so busy writing the things that are wrong. This is good data that you can put in there to help support the things that you either don't know about it or etc.
Thanks, Gary. Yeah, I mean, it's one of the things that really, I think, sets ScribeWare apart, but we're trying to use this information to really educate the client. That's like, look, I can't tell whether there's 2 layers of weather barrier under that stucco. I sure hope there is, but I'm gonna look for signs that maybe there aren't, and as well as other things. But it's a really painless way to kind of educate the client about exactly what we can't see and what we can't do for them. And I think it's really nice CYA, but another important data point here is I don't want a stucco disclaimer in my report if the house doesn't have stucco on And a lot of the systems are set up like that, and this one is very specific. It only populates if you're actually clicking that button that it has stucco there. So your CYA stuff is very, very specific to the house and not just lame kind of general boilerplate. So love that feature. So if do you guys have any other questions at the moment? Because I was thinking I might just start going down and show you how you add pictures and just kind of start doing a report just to kind of show you what that's like.
Go for it.
Cool. All right, so we got all our pictures sitting here. So let's see, we've got a front porch. So you'll notice that I have decks, balconies, and porches as one. This house had a front porch and a back porch. So I'm just going to make a quick change to my template here and hit the plus sign. So we'll add this. So I might call this one back deck. And then this one we'll just call the front porch. And you don't have to do this. You could dump them all into the section and just leave it as, you know, porches, decks, and patios, or whatever that said originally. And sometimes I do that, but I personally just I think it feels nice. It's little stuff like that makes the client feel like the goal is that it feels like you wrote the report just for their house. You know, that you weren't just checking boxes. So to me, these are the little things that they can take a little bit of extra time, but not a big deal. So this was one of those old 1924 front porches. So it was appearance grade lumber. It was a non-standard ledger board, non-standard guardrail, and some softwood decking. Can I tell you guys a cool story? I'm sitting there explaining to the client that, you know, the guardrail's not to code, and he said, yeah, actually they had a house 5 years ago where the guardrail was like this. Somebody came up onto their porch to check the paint colors, fell off the porch, and sued them because the guardrail wasn't to code. So, you know, important to say that, put these things into a report. So under guardrail, so we can go under here. There's some different ways we could do this. So let's say we're going to add an observation and we want to use ScribeWare's keyword search, which I don't think any other system has this. I could start typing in porch, and it's going to start looking for any comment that has porch in it. I could add the word guard, and now it's looking for the combination of porch and guardrail. So porch, and now this part that you see, guardrail, old and not to modern standard, in the blue, that's the title, and that title will not show up in the finished report. So that's just for the home inspector, the dark blue. So just the comment shows up. So you can see I could actually switch this comment, and I could use it for the balcony, or I could use it for the entry guardrail, but in this case, porch was kind of perfect.
Hey, Dylan.
Yeah.
Hey, can you hear me? Charlie.
Yeah, Charlie, welcome,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, I was late to the party, but yeah, what you just did with changing the word porch.
Yep.
It'd be really nice if we could do that where you had to change the title of the section to front porch and back deck, and you know, had those options.
Oh, within the title?
Yeah.
Oh, that would be pretty cool, wouldn't it? Yeah. All right. I love that, Charlie. That's great. Well, guys, and if you're listening, I mean, this is kind of the spirit of ScribeWare. It's a collaborative, fun thing. We all have ideas, and we try to kind of make tweaks that make the product better for all of us. So I love that idea. I'm gonna make a note of it, Charlie. Sorry, I'm just writing.
Because half the time people don't ever change that, and then it's not in the spirit of being specific to the house again. Yep.
Yeah. No, I like that. So, okay. Well, we have this as an improvement item, right? The porch and guardrails not to modern safety standards. We just dragged that picture in. In this case, let's take another, let's pretend we didn't want to do that, and we'll take a different approach, because there was really a lot wrong with this front porch. It was like settling and water was getting in and stuff. So we also have common observations. And so again, if you look up here, the styles and materials, the stuff with the bold is all in the report. This stuff here that is in italics is just inspector only notes. So this is just for us. So I can click on common observations, and now I've got a logic tree. So I've got big picture comments, decking, guardrails, partition walls, ledger board, bolts. I mean, these are all the different things you can find. Within each one of these, you could click under membranes, and an old membrane close to the end of its life, what's orange, it tells you there's a comment there. So under big picture, because there's a lot wrong with this deck, we could go to numerous repairs needed. We'll click on that. So overall, numerous repairs are needed to the decking systems on this house to ensure safe and reliable performance. Recommend additional inspection, blah, blah, blah. So it's a total general comment, and then it ends, examples of red flags and defects noted during inspection include, and there's a little colon. So let's call this a major concern because there's a lot wrong with this porch, and we'll start. I'm going to highlight a whole bunch of pictures here that are all deck pictures. And you can see when I just click on them, they turn red, the ones that I want, and that should do it. I'm going to drag all these under. So it's that fast to add a whole bunch of pictures. I mean, I think it's bringing in like 6 pictures or something. Looks like 9 pictures maybe. So cool. So now we've got a general comment that, boy, your porch is messed up, and here's 9 pictures of it. Recommend additional inspection. So now let's get even more specific, and we'll click on the picture. And that opens it up, and this is where you can add your caption. So a really cool feature of ScribeWare is we have a separate caption library that's different than the main library. So we could start typing in the word guardrail, and guardrail openings are larger. Let's see, what's my best one here? I have a good one, so we'll use this one. All decks, and it's actually a porch. So we'll be specific there. We'll add that in. This one, we also have another guardrail where there's, the openings are too big. So we'll start typing in guardrail again. The openings are larger than 4 inches, recommended today. Let's see. This was sort of a custom thing. You're not, the wall, as you can see, was sort of pulling away from the stairs. And we'll put a little arrow in to show where that's happening. We'll save that. This was kind of a separation, again, where water can enter, right? So we could put a little arrow. We do have spell check built right into it, so it flagged that for me. Down here, they'd made sort of temporary repairs to the structure, but they weren't all that well executed, and they were done with a lot of non-treated wood. So you get the idea. We're kind of adding all these little specific comments as captions. We also had wood to soil contact. Eliminate post to soil contact to prevent wood decay, and we could kind of circle some of these areas where we were getting this. So cool. So we've got this general comment. We got 9 pictures. We've got very specific captions. We can go up here, and if we hit this little button here, it's going to actually make a bulleted list of all those specific comments right below the general statement. So it's a pretty cool.
We need a round of applause at this point.
Yeah, I mean, this is pretty cool. Like, this is a way that's really unique and different. But it allows you to. Somebody needs to mute their mic there. It's a little time consuming, but boy, pretty soon with the mobile app, you should be able to get your captions using your voice on site. And now you'd be putting in pre-captioned pictures here. And it allows you to this is to me, the art of being both vague and specific, which the vague part covers your butt and the specific part makes you look like you actually did something for your client, you know? And so we use the super general vague comment up here at the top. That's just simple boilerplate. And then we added all the specifics of what we saw. And the combination is a really pretty detailed comment of, you know, and you're not saying here, you know, here's all the problems with this deck. You're just saying these are examples of the defects that we noted during inspection. So hopefully that makes sense to everybody, but it's pretty simple and intuitive. This one button is the whole sort of magic to it, and it allows you to kind of write a pretty sophisticated comment for something where there's a lot of problems with a single system. So you know, your option if you don't do this is you have a report with 10 different repair items for the front porch. And that's certainly an option, but to me, it's not quite as accurate a way to report on it. To me, this was all one system. It was the porch, and it had a lot of different things wrong with it.
Pardon me, Dylan.
Yeah, fire away,
Can
everyone.
you tell me where that button was where you did the bullet points?
Yeah, right here. It's the one where there's mountains with a little bullet list below. See that one?
Thank you. Thank you.
That's your magic button. Now, if you don't have pictures and captions, that button doesn't show up. You won't see it. So you won't start seeing it until you have pictures and captions. But that's because it won't do anything until you have pictures and captions. But that's the little magic button for you right there. Anybody else have some comments or questions about this? No? Everybody good? Let me just check to see if anybody's writing anything on here. Do you want to be made presenter, Gary? Is that right?
Not necessarily. Did someone write that?
Yeah, that's what it says on here. But anyway, no big deal.
Real quick, like,
Yeah.
on those pictures, do I understand if you put a caption on a picture, it's creating the line items?
That's exactly right. What I did is once my pictures were captioned, I can put here. Let's do it again just so you see it. I'm going to get rid of all these. So I have this general comment that says, boy, you got a lot wrong with your porch, right? I mean, that's basically all it says. Hire a qualified contractor. Examples of red flags and defects noted during inspection include, my cursor is sitting right here, and I'm going to go up and I'm going to hit this button, and it's going to take all of my photo captions and make a bulleted list below there. Make sense? So it's a really cool technique for being both vague and specific. And I use it for wiring. When a house has like 20 wiring problems, I'll use it. If a house has tons of siding problems, tons of roofing problems, tons of deck problems, I'll go and I'll just say, boy, there's a lot wrong with your deck. You need somebody to look at it. Here's some examples of what I noticed today. And then drop my pictures in, caption them, hit that button, and it just makes that whole list of everything. That helpful? Cool.
Yes.
Nice, right on. All right, so let's keep rolling. We'll just have some fun with this report here. There was really quite a bit of wiring, so maybe we could use this again for wiring if we wanted to. Here's two pictures. The first one I took was a crappy one, so I'm going to highlight it, and I'm going to come up here where it says hide media, and I'm going to get rid of that. So you'll notice that as soon as you use a picture, it disappears. If you want to get it back, you just check this box. It'll give you a little green check mark to show you've used it, but you can get it back and use it a second time if you want to, or a third time, or as many times as you want. Once you want it to go away, then you just check that and it goes away. That makes sense?
Hey, Dylan.
Yep.
How's it going?
Good. Who is this?
Michael.
Michael, how are you, man? Welcome.
Good. Sorry, I joined you late.
No problem. We're just having fun here. We got a big gang on here, so welcome. But did you have any questions about that particular thing at all, Michael, or just?
No.
Cool.
I like the one you did before, where you make bulleted items because there's
Yeah, this whole thing. It's a really cool feature. But awesome, man. I'm glad you made it. Thanks for being here. So we'll keep, pipe up if you have questions. Happy to answer them.
Okay.
So here you can see this was an old house. So I don't know about you guys, but I don't trust those old storm drains. So we'll go under common observations. actually, I think I might have this. Downspouts discharged, below grade, old storm drains, monitor. These ones, it was raining when I was out there. I didn't see any signs of anything. So I just hit that. Now that gave me 3 different comments. I'll get rid of the ones I don't want. This wasn't for corrugated storm drain pipes. And I've got my monitor, old storm drain pipes monitor. So I'm going to get rid of those, and I'll drag that picture in. I had a few different ones. So we can even go down my pictures. I'll highlight that. I think I had maybe 3 or 4 different pictures of that old cement drain line. So we'll just drag those in. And I don't really need to fiddle with that one anymore. And just noting that, hey, you got old drain pipes here. I didn't see anything backing up. They seem to be working, but that's a monitoring item. Pretty simple. So this is cool. I took a picture of my pressure gauge. So we'll jump over to the plumbing chapter. And you can see I've got a section here, water pressure tested during inspection. I'm going to hit that checkbox, and it just says this shows the water pressure tested during inspection. I'm going to drag the picture in, and I'm done. I don't need to fiddle with that anymore. And I built some of this in because it's a great way to demonstrate to your client to use your pictures, your CYA pictures. It doesn't hardly take you any time, and you're saying, hey, this is the pressure I tested. When you go down lower, you could fill some of this stuff out. So I know that the pipe materials here were galvanized steel. So that automatically gives me a comment. Hey, this is an old steel supply line here. You might have to replace it at some point. Water supply was public, so I'm going to hit public water. Water pressure, I tested it. It was right around 75. You'll notice that if the water pressure is low or high, you've got comments built in that, hey, the pressure was too high, pressure was too low. There was no reducing valve here, and the main water shutoff was in the basement. What else can we fill out here? I usually take pictures of the water meter, and I usually do it first, but I think I forgot to because the client was there and they started talking to me. So I did it later. So here's a picture of the water meter, and I noticed the water meter wasn't spinning. So I'm going to go under my water meter section. This shows the location of the water meter at the street side of the house. If I wanted to, I could change it, but the street is what I want. I'm going to grab my 2 meter pictures. I'm going to drag them in. Again, this is stuff you don't have to do, but I'm just trying to show you ways that you can be creative and kind of add. This is my version of CYA of just saying like, hey, I'm looking at all this stuff for you. There's not a problem, and if you build it so it's really easy to put into the report, it just doesn't take me any time. I mean, I just literally checked the box and dragged 2 pictures in. It took me like 3 seconds. So that's how I do the water meter. Now we could go all the way down towards the bottom of the pictures here where the main water shutoff I know was in the basement, so that was closer to the end of my pictures. Let's see if I can find that. If I were doing this report live, I would probably just start at the top of my pictures and not bounce around so much. But I'm trying to like hit little spots so I can like demo the software for you guys.
Dylan,
Yep.
do you take your images with a separate imager, or do you do it with a iPad?
At the moment, I do it with just my camera, so not an iPad. But once we have the mobile app, you'll be able to do it on basically any device. Yep. Yeah. I personally use a bunch of different cameras. I use my main camera, my crawl space camera, and then a infrared camera that you sold me, Brent.
There you go.
All right, so I just dragged in a picture of the main water shutoff, and I said it's not located in the garage, it's located in the basement. Boom. So that's more just nice courtesy stuff, and if you wanted to, you could click on it, and you could put a little arrow in here to show where the main water shutoff is. Remember we talked about how it's galvanized pipe here, so I actually had another picture of the water main. We could bring that one in. There is a cropping feature built right into ScribeWare, so you can hit this little square here, and we'll bring this down right onto the steel pipe in the basement. We're going to zoom right in on this. Whoops. And we could put a little comment. And we'll hit save. And you see how it just focuses in on that. So it's just kind of nice to crop and zoom in on a picture if you want to. Cool. So we could do, what other fun stuff could we have? Oh, this is a fun one. We got Charlie on here. We got to do something electrical. We'll have some fun with this.
Before you leave the plumbing,
yeah,
if you will, there were some unchecked, and those unchecked ones don't show in the report. Is that correct? Where you got distribution pipe there, I saw one unchecked.
Yeah, like down here, that's right.
Yeah.
So at the moment, if I were to print this whole section would not be in the report.
Simple.
That's right. And now, so if when you're doing the report, you'd go through and say pipe insulation present, supply was copper, functional flow was average. So, once I do that, all these things are showing up in the report. But if I don't do that, they don't show up in the report. That's exactly right. Now, Mike Wickland, who's on here, had a freaking awesome idea that it's high on my list. But when you think you're done with the report, what we'd like is you hit a button, and then it would basically review all of the sections in the report that you haven't touched. And you could kind of give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down. So you could ditch it and say, no, I don't want it, or it'll remind you that, oh, wow, I forgot to fill that in. Does that make sense?
It's an excellent idea. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's an awesome idea Mike had. So I love that, and we're working on that. At the moment, you can do that manually. So let's say you've been working on your plumbing and you're done with it. You can come up here and you hit this, and it'll turn everything green. I don't know if you can see that on your screens, but once it's green, then that's your sign like, all right, I'm done with that section. And you'll see these are red, and like the water heater, exterior hose bibs, these are black. That tells me I haven't visited those sections yet. So we have automated a bit of kind of the software knows where you've been within a report and where you haven't. So I kind of love it as it is. I just think Mike had a really nice idea of if when you think you're done, you could review the whole thing and just go to any places you haven't touched. It would be kind of just another fail safe there, which I think is a pretty
just tab through it, tab.
That's exactly right. You can just tab through it, and then you might get lucky and be like, oh wow, I forgot to go there. So let's see. Clark wrote a note. Show how a comment. Well, I'll get to that in a minute, Clark. I'll look at that. Thanks for sending a little question here. Gary, does that answer your question on plumbing? Is that good?
Yes, sir. Thanks.
Cool. Awesome. So, and as you guys, when we do these meetings, I love doing these, but I try to sort of like have fun inspection stuff in here too. So this place didn't have an electrical permit. I didn't find one, so I'm not going to fill anything out here. I'm just going to leave that. The voltage tested, this was a residence and an old one. I didn't bother looking for a 208 system, but we could talk about that. But I didn't on this one. The service here was above ground, and it was a 200-meter service. This is a fun one, though. This is service equipment. So we had copper mains. It was 200-amp service. So again, these are like in home gauge. This is like the styles and materials. We're just going down. It's located in the basement. This was a square D panel. But this is a fun picture. You guys want to, hopefully you can see it well enough. You guys know what's going on with this one? See the little skinny aluminum looking wire here? Think 1924 house. Any guesses? It's the little tracer that would be in the BX cable, and you're not supposed to bond that one. Right, Charlie? Everybody on here? You guys all here?
We're here. We're here, but Charlie left.
Oh, Charlie must have left. Anyway, so let's see. Let's type in. I always forget about this one. So BX cable. We'll just start typing that in. Doesn't find it. Let's see.
While you're doing that, I'm getting feedback here. Try it this way. Now, while you're doing that, what I was going to comment on is I now use home gauge, but yet here I'm not going page to page. I'm seeing everything I'm working in and what happens on the next section.
Yep. Meaning you can scroll from one chapter to the next?
Well, no, just like when you're doing and I don't know why I'm getting all the feedback, but basically when you're filling out your styles and materials,
Yep.
I'm seeing everything that's populating in the report as you're doing that, instead of having it on one screen and having to go to another to look for what populated.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, no, this is like live real time. You're just doing it. It's like you're filling in the report. Yep. Do you like that? Is that? You there, Mike? Sorry, you're having trouble with that mic. I don't know what's going on there.
We're good.
Cool. Right on. I don't know why I can't find this. So let's go under. I wonder if I have a common panel defects. I wonder if I have it under here. I don't know if I do. Sometimes I can't find these things. I just used it the other day. It's the well, it's a good example of a weird one that I can't find the. But I know I just used it and I had a great comment for it too. But I would think that it would be maybe armored cable. No. Well, anyway, I'd write a comment for that. Let me get this out of the way. What other stuff do we have? This is a newer panel, so you could updated. So panel's been updated. Inquire with the seller. So we could drag a picture and say, hey, this building electrical system is protected by an updated electrical panel. Inquire with the seller for more information. So it's just kind of a nice sort of CYA thing. Here they did have this was probably done a while ago. They had a multi-wire circuit with no bridge. So you could come and type in multi-wire handle tie recommended. Kind of an improvement item, I think, on an older panel, but would be recommended today. You could put that in if you wanted to. Just doing a few panel things here. This was another one. The panel's full, and it kind of a new panel, but you'd have to use tandems. So you just start typing in the word full, notes and limitations. Panel's full. The electric panel's full. There's no more room. We're going to drag that in. So you can see how quickly you can kind of just cruise through and start making comments. I mean, this is how quickly I would be moving in that electric panel section. I don't know why I couldn't find that one, but hopefully that makes sense. You guys hearing me okay? Yes, no?
Yeah. You're out a little bit, but not bad.
Cool. Okay. Yep. Doing my best here. Awesome. So yeah, that's just dragging stuff in. We could do a little bit. Let's do some water heater stuff. I've got some good pictures here. So we'll jump over to water heaters. We'll start working on this section. So this was a tank water heater. You could fill in these other kinds. This was a GE, I believe. And water temperature, I don't even know if I got that. This thing was so old. 50 gallons. It was from, so you can see here age. All right, Bradford White. I can never remember the stupid code. So now in the software I built it in. You just click on this arrow and here's all your letters with the code to date the Bradford White water heater. I think that's awesome. Anyway, this one wasn't Bradford White, so we'll go on. This was from 94, I believe. So you can see that this one is orange. So all I did was type in that it's a 94 water heater. And I'm saying this thing's so old, I recommend updating it. And the reason I've got two comments is I've got one for multiple water heaters. So like, hey, you got a lot of old water heaters here, or one water heater. So in this case, we only have one. So I'm just going to ditch my multiple one. I'm going to drag this guy in. As sort of my picture here. We don't have an expansion tank on this guy. So we could start typing in the word expansion tank, none noted. Relief valve, I'm coming up here. This was an electric water heater. Back to my styles and materials. Pressure relief valve, present not tested. This is some nice CYA that automatically pops up. That's like, hey, this is a really important feature here, but I don't test this, and here's why I don't test it. Not automatically shows up. For you guys in Mississippi, you don't care about straps, but I do, and there were no straps here, so None found. So I just check none found, and boom, no strap shows up, just like I want it. Let's see what else we've got. Oh, the temperature pressure relief valve is non-standard. So we could go under I'm just showing you different ways. I use the keyword search for everything. I'm going to type in TPRV, and I've got cap to off, supply connector used, terminates into a drain pan. Inadequate is sort of my general go-to one. The discharge tube for the water heater is inadequate. That's an easy one. You just kind of customize. We could, let's see, we could drag this one in. Okay, I got 2 pictures by accident. I'll get rid of that one. Let's see, we also have leaking supply connectors. So you could start typing in the word supply. TPR supply connectors, corroded supply connectors, newer tank, corroded supply connectors, old tank. That's what I want. We'll drag that in. So this is an example. You can see I probably could have done a different way and said, boy, there's a lot wrong with your water heater, and used the whole photo captions thing. But this is also a cool way to show you how quickly I can find all my comments, because I've got all these different ways of doing it. So lots of different ways to get to your comments here and report on a series of observations. This thing was also leaking a little bit, so we could start typing in leak. No pan, old water heaters, supply connectors, expansion tank, TPRV, active leak, repair as soon as possible. Prior leak is really what it was. It was kind of dry. So signs of prior leaks noted at the water heater. We could just drag this picture in, see the water stains. These were dry at the time of inspection. And I don't think there's any inquiring. I might just replace that with, let's see. Let's do something cool here. See how the end it says inquire with the seller for any additional information about prior leaks. What if we want a different one permanently? So let's highlight it. We're going to come up to this little feature, and this gives me multiple other text. So how about given the age of this water heater, replacement is recommended. So now we've got another option. We're going to save that, and I've just improved my library. So see, there's a little asterisk here. I can come up and I'm going to update my library. And I don't want to permanently include this media, so I'm going to hit no. But now I can change this with just boom. That makes sense. So now it's signs of prior leaks were noted at the water heater. See water stains. These were dry at time of inspection. Given the age of this water heater, replacement is recommended.
And because you typed in the word leak, your library knew to pull not a window leak in or a roof leak into the comment section, because the library knew that you were in plumbing?
That's correct. The library is specific to each section. So yeah, you're not looking through your roof leaks and stuff. You're only looking within that water heater section. Great question, Gary.
And so the library is set to, and you were going to expound on the library. I don't want to jump on the library thing right away, but that's the part that I was just a better understanding of the library, and we can do that later.
Cool.
Thanks.
Well, we could actually do it now. I think you're getting, I mean, I've filled out enough of the report. I think you get a sense of kind of how quick it is. And, you know, we could do some more of this in a minute, but let's look at the library for just a minute. So you'll notice up here, we're in the report.
I have a question.
Yeah, shoot.
So when you're in a specific section, like if you're in plumbing, it's only going to pull up the plumbing library or roofing library. What if you're changing from another software program and you go, dang, I know I've got that comment somewhere. Is there a way of pulling up the whole library word specific? Like you say leak, and it pulls up plumbing leaks, roofing leaks. You know there's a comment somewhere, but you're looking for it. Is it only going to pull up?
No, you can search globally. So look, check this out. This is the library button. So you hit this. So now we're in the back-end library, and you can see you can search by a keyword. So if I type in leak here, and I haven't specified what chapter and what section, now I'm going through my entire library looking for anything with the word leak in it. you know, and I could add
Copy
some more,
that.
I could, you know, leak, I could type in flashing, you know, and now it's going to start trying to find those 2 words. So that's going to make it a smaller search. So you can kind of winnow things down. Now, let's say you're looking for the words leak, flashing, but you know you're looking for the exterior garage and you're looking in siding and trim. Well, now I'm like reducing it even further because now I'm in this particular chapter in this particular section looking for these particular words. That makes sense?
It does.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So you can do global searches, or you can do chapter specific searches or section specific searches. And that's actually, I wonder if I look up BX cable here, I can find the comment that I wanted. Yeah, this is it. So I must have been in the wrong section. So it's a good example of using the global search. The bonding wire for the BX cable appears to have been brought into the main electric panel. This is non-standard. Have this further evaluated and repaired by licensed electricians. So now let's say you find this in the back-end library. You can toggle this over to include it in the report. Isn't that cool? So it's actually a way you could go through and you could fill out your whole report just doing keyword searches in here and sort of working in your library and just dumping these things into the report, if that makes sense. I don't usually do it that way, but there's no reason you couldn't. So we can go in the electrical chapter and wonder where that comment might have been. Yeah, it's in my branch wiring is why I couldn't find it. So I just had it in a section that, you know, these things happen to you once in a while. I know my library pretty well. So now I'll go down here. I could go find that picture and just bring it in there. Put a little arrow in. Charlie'd be proud of me. You guys taking Charlie's electrical class? It's freaking awesome. Anyway, it's one of those good Charlie finds. Anyway, so let's see. There was some other. Let me finish library, and then I know like Clark asked a question. Let me pull those up in a minute here. So that's your library. Now within each section, we've got some other cool things. This is how you add an observation. The view comment is really cool. So this is your 10 most frequent flyers in any given section, and this all happens automatically. The software will remember the 10 comments you use in any section and make a list of it, and you can add them by simply just checking these boxes, and that puts them in. So the system literally learns how you like to report and remembers it to help make you fast. So that's cool. And then you also have a view library button, and this will let you view the library specifically within a chapter or a section.
Yeah, to expound on the 10 most popular in electrical.
Yep.
If you had a master way of determining what those 10 were in all users, then you could simulate data that could say in the month of January, all of our users reported a repair of wire, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
That would be very powerful to know that what the most common defects were in the summer or the winter.
That's really interesting. Yeah, totally. You know, that would also give you like cool data of where to focus your library writing attention, of like how to make your comments better in certain sections, you know. So let's talk about this part of the library real quick, because this is important. We got people. Yeah.
Before you leave that, it brings up the 10 most common. Remind me what you told me, because I've forgotten. When you have multi-inspectors and everybody's going to have 10 different, but we don't want them to have different.
Steve can build that for you either way. So you could lock it where like it'll be in your template and it won't be changed by all the people using it, or you can expose it to the whole company, you know. But I think he can do either or. But that's a Steve question a little bit. But I think that's how he answered it when we were up there.
Thanks.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. We got Mike from Kentucky here is also interested in using it with a bunch of guys. And Mike, these are things that, you know, when you get a bunch of people using it, Steve can start kind of trying to customize what parts of this we want to expose to everybody and what parts of it we want to lock off so that they can't fiddle with the template. So this would be a good example of that. So let's just say you have a comment that you copied and pasted from somewhere and you want to make your own observation, right? I'm going to copy and paste this just for fun. But let's say you're coming over from a different software and there's 30 or 40 comments you want, and one of them is this bonding wire, right? So you're going to hit add an observation. You're going to paste in the comment that you want, and you're going to come up to these 3 dots and you're going to add it to the library. And that's it. Now that's in your library. It's really that simple. Now, if you want to title it with this cool little blue title that only the home inspector sees, you click and you edit in the library, and you can type Mike's new comment, and we'll add that as, or we'll just update the existing library entry, and now you've got, that sort of tells you that it's your new comment or whatever. You could title it whatever you want. But does that make sense? I mean, obviously, if you have like thousands of things that you want to bring in from another library, that's a lot. Charlie managed to, I mean, he pulled in like freaking this massive spreadsheet of stuff. So it is all doable to bring it in a somewhat reasonable amount of time. But probably the most efficient use of time is just finding the, using it for a bit and finding the comments you really miss, and then just bringing in some of those, and you just copy and paste them in. It's really easy to save it. Does that make sense, everybody?
Yeah.
Cool. Let's see, I got a question on here. Clark, Dylan, could you show how a comment auto-populates as the description is filled in as you go? For example, galvanized steel. Yeah, you guys want to learn how to do that real quick? I mean, this is starting to get deeper into the system, but I've been showing you some things of how you customize this. For multi-inspection people, your guys aren't really fiddling with much of this. This is like, it's the template building and creating the logic is what's the biggest thing. So what do I have here? Here you can see I actually set these up as check boxes, so we could talk about that a little bit. Let me see the best way to demonstrate this. Let's go under plumbing. Oh, I know. This is one Gary and I were talking about just the other day. So discharge type. So I have all of these now as blue. So let's type public sewer. Well, so if it's a public sewer, I've got a due diligence comment that's going to show up in the finished report that's saying, hey, you got a sewer line, you should scope it. But I've also got a limitation that Gary brought to mind, which is that, we list this thing as a sewer, but we don't really know whether it's a septic or not unless you scope it. So it says, please note that when the sewer discharge type is listed here, it is listed based on public records and disclosure. It's always possible the system is not as it is listed. For example, a property could be listed as a public sewer system when in fact it is on a private septic. This is another reason why we recommend further evaluation of the system. The type of sewer discharge cannot be verified as part of a visual inspection of the property. What do you think of that, Gary?
Yeah, I love that. And yeah, that's like one lawsuit ago.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking with Gary the other day. He was in a lawsuit that is completely frivolous, but whatever, you can build these things into your software to try to protect you. And, after talking to him, I realized, sometimes if it's a septic, you see the clean out lid and you make an assumption, but you really, you have no clue. You're going off of whatever the listing is. So anyway, I thought that was really smart CYA to add. So let me show you how I did that. I wrote this comment. I'm going to copy and paste it here. So add an observation, Clark, and then I'm pasting this in. This is my observation, so I just wrote any comment. Now under here, you've got your major concern, repair, improvement. I'm going to come all the way down to description, and that's where you get the descriptions do not show up in the summary page. These are just kind of back-end CYA stuff. So we're going to go in and title this just so I can find it again. New comment. So we'll add this as a new library entry under new comment. Let's get rid of it. So let's say I wanted to add new comment to PVC pipe, for example. I'm going to hit my little pen here, and this is how I start editing all this stuff. So Brent, if you're still on here, this is kind of important for you. this little pen. And again, if you've got multi-inspection firm, your guys aren't touching this stuff. This is all construction of the template. But once we click this allows us to resequence these, retitle these, add anything we want. So I'm going to go under waste and vent pipe materials. I'm going to click another little button here, and I'm going to highlight PVC. Or actually, I don't highlight it. Under here, I can do a suggested observation. So I click on this, and now I'm going to type PVC. I'm going to write in new comment. There's my new comment. I'm going to hit that little box there, and I'm going to hit save. And now you see the PVC is blue. So we'll save that. I'm not going to save that permanently to my template because we're just doing a demo. And now when I go under my vent and waste pipe materials, I hit PVC, and it gives me that comment automatically. That makes sense, guys? It's a little bit confusing at first. And again, this isn't stuff for like your guys if you're a bigger firm. This is all like, this is the stuff of building your logic and your comments into it. But what it does is it means, this is what's brilliant for multi-inspection firms, is you got your guys using it. And I mean, they can't screw up now. As soon as they hit PVC pipe, it's got the thing in there that you want it to say. And this is how you build your process into the software, where you could roll it out to 50 guys, and in theory, everyone's really on the same page and using the same language.
Yeah, I'm thinking another round of applause is due.
Thanks, Gary. Yeah, I think it's really amazing, the ability to do this. And again, you can do it with those descriptions, or you can do it with the comments, you know. So here I am under waste pipe and vent materials, ABS plastic. Oh, they didn't sleeve it through the foundation. I can hit that, and boom, there's my comment. So whenever they're orange, you have an observation attached. And keep in mind, for people who haven't looked at ScribeWare much, you can change these by just hitting this. So if you want to call it an improvement item, you could do that, or a major concern. But it'll remember whichever qualifier you set it as a default. But it's saying, hey, there's no sleeve around the sewer pipe. So you could literally build, like what Charlie has done, is build everything into these pull downs. So he doesn't use the keyword search much. He uses all of his pull downs. And the reason he does that is that it helps him make sure he's checked everything. The reason I don't do that is it would take me too long. You know, I mean, we should have Charlie on and do a demo of the system at some point. It would be amazing to see what he's done with it all. But anyway, I like to move a little more quickly than that. But so you can see what I did in the default template that's available to everybody now is under waste pipe and discharge. These check boxes are only for the home inspector. And they're the most common things, and it's stuff I run into so much. So this house had old metal waste lines, so I'm just going to hit that. It's like, oh, there's old metal waste pipe here. I'm going to make a comment that you might need to update those. They're subject to internal corrosion. I can't really tell when you're going to have to replace those. And we can go looking for any pictures of old metal waste pipe. Oh, there's one. Could drag that. Just drag that in. Let's see. You guys want to? Everyone hanging in there? You guys having fun?
You're actually making me want to go out and inspect an old house, and I hate them.
Yeah. Well, this one's much more challenging. I mean, I try to like set myself up with some easy houses at first, but this one, oh, it looks like, is Mike still on here? I don't know if we lost him or not. Anyway.
Michael's here.
Oh, good. Awesome. Great. Anyway, yeah, I mean, I'm glad I think report writing is fun with this software, but I'm glad you think so too, Gary. So let's just fill in some more stuff just for fun. But I mean, here's one that comes up all the time is the old stairs. So we can go to the stair section. Old non-conforming stairs. It's orange, just like I like it. Boom. The stairs to the basement, which is accurate in this case, but I could change it if I wanted to, are old non-conforming stairs. You know, they're steep and stuff. We could do another one where the return, there's no return into the wall. Let's see. Here it is, handrail, no return into wall. We can drag that in. We can just hit a little arrow to highlight it. I'm just going to jump around and just chase pictures here, but this was a, let's see, wiring. There's a lot on wiring here. That's a little too hard. We'll do that in a minute. Well, let's do
when you typed return, could you type in return to wall or return into wall?
I just wrote return.
Yeah, but would it have been more refined to search if you put in more keywords?
Yep. So let's do return wall.
Into wall, yeah.
You can even take them out of sequence. There's enough things of return into wall that it's not winnowing it.
So it's actually pulling from the body of the. So if you don't know the heading, and you remember other things in the body of the length of the comment, then it may pull it that way as well.
Oh, that's correct, Gary. It's not. It does not just look at the title. It'll look throughout the comment. It's just searching through all the words in the library. Yeah. That's exactly right. So you don't have to remember the title of the comment. And this is.
Hey, Dylan?
Yeah.
So wouldn't that make sense, if you have multi-inspectors, to write your comments so that they have words that make sense instead of to and it and the, have words that are going to be the keywords that are going to, really zero in on them faster.
That's right. And what you'll find is that once the guys start using it, there's a lot of things that, like, I've used this now so long that I almost exclusively use the keyword search because it's just flat out so fast. I mean, I can fly through these things but a lot of it is just, so in the garage, I call them the containment cables for the springs, but there is some amount of, if you're in a multi-inspection firm, making sure like all the guys are on the same page of using that word containment,
Right.
But you could still type in the word spring, and we could go look at that real quick.
Sure.
So if we're in the garage, we could just go in the garage section and type in spring. Containment cable's missing, it just popped right up. So I didn't even need to know the word containment cable because I figured the word spring might be in there,
But you could easily put overhead door spring.
That's right.
Because overhead doors in the body of it.
Yep. And then you could look under overhead, where I don't think I'll have that, but I've got overhead in a bunch of things. And so, when it's brand new to you, you're not quite as good at using the keyword search. And that's frankly the reason why we've built a lot of these logic trees, is so that when you're brand new to it, you can go through and kind of have other ways of finding what you want out of the library. But the more you use it, the more you use the keyword search, because you can't touch it for speed, Well, although I must say, even better are these checkboxes. Those are really fast, here's sensitivity of the garage door always comes up. I've got one and I've got multiple. Boy, you can't touch that for speed. They're just sitting right there. Really fast. Breach in the fire separation, one or multiple. So really easy to add stuff super quickly. The paper-faced insulation that's always in the garage. And I can teach you guys when you start using it how you start adding more of these if you want, or I can show you real quick now. We hit the little button here and we go into the section with all these check boxes, and here's my list of them, so I can just keep adding more and more stuff on there. And the key thing is under here I have display options as check boxes. That's the key thing here. And that allows you to instead of having this to show as a pull down, which is the default, you could take the list and have it show as check boxes. And the obvious reason we don't do that for everything is that, if you had all your deck comments as a checkbox, the thing would go on for it'd never end, so you have to kind of hide a bunch of this stuff. That makes sense, everyone? Everybody there?
You're on a roll.
Cool. All right. Let's pipe in if anybody has any specific questions, but I'm going to keep going here for a little bit. Here's a cool one, window, and let's do a little bathroom stuff here. This was the family bathroom. So I did test the sink. I didn't test the toilet, and there was even a little note on it. Not sure. I don't know if I have a comment for that already, but I tested the shower. We'll type in the word window. Window and shower, no damage found. Window and shower, water damage suspected. I can include that as part of my pest inspection. And because I want that as a future part of this pest inspection, I'm just going to update my library. It'll remember that. And we could bring that picture in as well as some of this failing tile. We could call that a major concern because I think that's going to be expensive. This room had a fan and a window, or the bathroom. Standard. Now here's a picture of a light in a bathroom. The only receptacle here was in the light. Now some guys like to report on that in the bathroom and it's faster. My logic is I would rather have all my electrical stuff in the electrical, thinking that way an electrician can get the report and go to one place. So I'm going to go to electrical receptacles and fixtures. I'm just going to start typing in the word bathroom. GFI is wired in series. Let's see. Bathroom, no receptacle. That's almost there. Bathroom, only receptacle is in light. That's what I want. I'm going to drag that guy in, and I'm done. Make sense?
Yeah, that's very logical.
Cool. We could go under family bathroom. I'm going to go back there. We got a few more things I want to add. There was a bunch of mold and stuff growing on the wall, so we could type in mold. Mold-like substances on bathroom walls and ceilings. And you can change this a little bit, but it was the family bathroom, and it was on the walls and ceilings. And we'll drag that picture in.
But Dylan, I want to ask just a general question here in terms of logic.
Yep.
You have plumbing, you have a section for plumbing, and you also have a section for powder bathroom.
Yep.
And I would think that there would be plumbing in each one of those.
Well, there is, and I might make all my comments to be specific to what I found in that bathroom. But the main plumbing chapter is, to me, more the bones of the plumbing. I mean, that's the meter and the pressure and the shutoff and the water heater and the distribution pipe and the waste pipe. So I think I have all the sort of bones and the hose bibs, but I have the kind of bones of the plumbing system in their own chapter, and then the bathrooms. And so, yeah, for a plumber, your comments are a little bit broken up. They're not all in one chapter. But I try to have a chapter for each bathroom because I just think there's always so much stuff in bathrooms, you know.
Right.
You could change that around. There's different ways you could set up the template. You could do it differently. I think I found a leaky angle stop. This was actually at the lower bathroom. Yeah, there it is. So we could type in the word angle. Angle stop missing handle. Let's be more specific. Angle leak. Angle stops corroded. Angle stops leaking in the basement. Just drag that in. So that was a good example, Gary, of how like you keep adding words and it gets more and more specific, you know. Another thing that's just a kind of cool, you know, that I do a lot is this case. It had, let's go under my common. It had two bathrooms that were both total pieces of junk. So update bathrooms soon. Remodel needed as soon as possible. We'll click that. One bath, multiple bathrooms. The bathrooms in this home are in marginal condition, will be unreliable until updated. All the bathrooms in this home are in need of remodeling for safe, sanitary, and reliable performance. Please note that this visible condition risks concealed water damage. So that's kind of some nice, you know. So I might have like just that as a boilerplate major concern that like, hey, you got to update all the bathrooms here. You could drag a bunch of pictures into that and just have a single comment, you know, like, and use the bullet feature if you wanted to, or you could, you know, have just a sequence of different repair items kind of within the report. So, you know, there's little style differences. Every company and every inspector is going to do that kind of differently. That makes sense?
Yeah, you could just drink the Drano.
That's
Put
right.
yourself out of misery.
Yeah. That's never a great sign, is it, when you see the bottles of drainage? So let's see. We could do this one. So floor materials, the 9x9 tiles. So we could just do asbestos. And boom, the 9x9 tiles might contain asbestos. Now let me show you this. This is cool. In the very beginning, we've got a general comments section. So let's fill this out a little bit. The style, I don't even do the style, but the type of building, this was 1 story with a basement. I don't usually fill in the square footage, but I did create some language here. So let's say it's 2,000 square feet. I get it. The approximate square footage listed here is listed as a courtesy and is based off public records, and disclosure and evaluation of square footage of the building and property lines is beyond the scope of this inspection. So more CYA if you are filling in the square footage. Approximate year of construction. This was an old timer, so this was 1924. So as soon as I click that, I get a bunch of CYA stuff. Hey, there's probably old wiring here, and a lead and asbestos note show up. So that, again, the second I'd filled in the age of the building, those things showed up. That makes sense?
Is that specific to that one particular age, or can you set it for a range of age?
I set it for a range. So basically that's, 87, I think, is when I started putting a bunch of that stuff in. But all of these are blue, so I went through and just hided all those. But you could type, you could have whatever ranges you want. The reason I have these early ones is that it's new enough. I figure you might be able to get plans or something for the building. And so I'll make a note like, hey, plans might be available and permits.
Roger.
Contractors and stuff. So that's pretty cool. Here's another cool one. I mean, let's just say for a minute, let's get out of these, I also have the aluminum wiring in here. So if you're in the 74, I just hit 1974, and it also added solid conductor aluminum note. That solid conductor aluminum was used. I looked for it today, and unless noted in this report, I didn't find it. So you can build in all kinds of cool CYA stuff. Then all you're doing is checking the age. For multi-inspection firms, this is so cool. You just, you're typing in the age, and it starts just filling out all these comments for you. So
yeah, I had a 71 a couple of days ago, and it had the aluminum wiring and a Zensco panel.
Home run. Yeah. 71 too. That's pre-72, so that's kind of the bad aluminum wiring. That's no good. So let's see. You can say who's attending the inspection, the occupancy. Here's another cool CYA. If it's unoccupied, boom. I have a vacant house disclaimer that particularly the plumbing system is harder to do an inspection on. It's harder to tell. I might have gotten a little of this language from you, Gary. Sewer lines with roots may allow water to flow, but then fail when the water and tissue are flushed. It can take a few days for that to back up, So there's some really nice CYA built in that, hey, this is a vacant home.
Yeah, that sounds like David's up in New Jersey or where, he's in Rhode Island, I think.
Okay.
He's in the group, and he came up with a real good.
Maybe that's where I got it from. Yeah, and you try to kind of, to me, the art of library building never ends. I'm always on the search for good language, and I try to create some of my own, but when in doubt, borrow. So you can.
Question for you.
Yeah, shoot.
I may have gotten this mic straightened out. I'm not sure if it's still giving you feedback. Let me know.
Sounds great.
In my current software, I can do a save of an autofill. So let's say I'm going and doing this old home. I can do an autofill that's strictly for old houses. And just like this, the sewer stuff that we were talking about before, or even using the vacant home associated with different things. Is there anything that's set up currently to where you can just go in and say old house or vacant, and it will auto-populate in multiple sections at the same time?
Yeah, the closest thing we have to that is the frequently used observations.
Okay.
And so what you could do is just start taking those and put them in here and title them that, like, hey, old house, new construction, take your categories and give it a title. And then, you'd have to go through and still hit them. But, you before you even show up, you could go through and hit like 10 or 15 things like that, and they'll just show up in all, and that they go to all the correct sections that way.
And in all honesty, with the other guys I have working for me, I don't think they even know how that one particular feature works.
Interesting.
I'm probably the only guilty one of going ahead and hitting the big button and knowing I might have to go back in and clean something out.
Yeah. But no, but I mean, that's, and there's different, with this general comments, like I was showing you, they only show up in this comment. So the closest thing for what you're talking about would be this frequently used. And that's just because the logic for this means it'll show up in all the appropriate sections throughout the report. But I like that idea. There might be a way to be talking to Steve, but there might be a way to build like, where you could have a few different frequently used comments for like a whole sequence of them, so you'd have a sequence of them for old house, sequence for new house, mid-century. I don't know. It's a neat idea. I'm going to write that down. Yeah. That's
because we've got some neighborhoods in our area, just like everybody else has, that they have Orangeburg waste lines. They also have aluminum wiring in them. And you can just go on forever with the oh crap moments that are associated with the one neighborhood, for example.
Yep.
And yeah, I'm guilty of filling that in before even walking the door because I know it's what I've got.
That's an awesome idea. I'll talk to Steve about that, but it would be really cool to you could have in the frequently used observations, if you could gang a whole bunch together under a single folder or something. So you could click on a folder that's like, this neighborhood, you could title that neighborhood. I can think of a condo that I do here that it's the most highly engineered building you've ever been in. I mean, there's heat recovery ventilators and solar systems and vent-free dryers and ductless heat pumps and geez, I have all these comments that and whatever that I can find them quickly, but it'd be so cool to just hit like Grow Avenue and it would just put all that stuff in one click. Basically, that would be awesome. I like that idea. I bet that's pretty doable. So that's a great idea.
When you mention something like that, your mentality is to take the default template and then customize it for that particular type neighborhood and then save it under that name.
That's actually another thing you could do. That's a cool idea, Gary, is when you're done with a report, you could actually then come up here and just say save report template and give it title it Grow Avenue. Like essentially I've now copied that Grow Avenue condo inspection, and every time I do one I could pull that up, and then you could sort of you could work backwards where you erase a bunch of the pictures because you're going to collect a new series of pictures, and you could erase the comments that don't apply, but you're almost working backwards. You've got a complete report and you're just backing out the things you're not using. That's a really cool idea, Gary.
One question for you, and again I'm comparing to the software I'm familiar with. When we refer to the library in this case, and I've heard you refer to the global library, if I've got 15 different templates, does that library change no matter what else I'm doing? I'm pulling from the freshest information no matter which template I'm using, or is each template locked to that library?
No, that's correct. You have a global library that here I'll show you how this works. And this can actually when you're fiddling with your templates, it can get a little tricky. But so here I am in a section. I'm going to click on this. I can edit the library category. So I can actually go through my library and I can associate any number of different sections with a section, if that makes sense. So here I'm in rodents and then interior. So I've got my rodents in two different places here, and I could add other things. This gets a little complicated, but the bottom line is that you always have, if you go under your library, you always can do a global search and find anything. And you can actually start associating different library sections with different.
I know that you've answered the question, but I need to ask it one more time just to understand I'm correct.
Yep.
That no matter how many templates I have, that global library is a living item. And if I haven't used a particular template in 6 months and I open it up, I've still got access to all my global information or global library within that older template.
That is correct. That is
totally
Thank you. Correct.
Yep. Rock and roll.
Yep. And even better too is just your templates, all that library and all your different templates are backed up in the cloud, so that you really can't lose them.
Hey, Dylan?
Yeah.
This is Michael.
Michael.
Yeah, sorry, my battery pooped out when I pulled in my driveway. I'm back.
Nice.
Okay. So we were talking about libraries. So you're in a general section of roofing. It changes in that roofing section. and you're wanting to go to a global library of that template, one thing that, we use HomeGauge, and one thing that they don't do or haven't done, but other companies have, like 3D does, they have a library, they have a global library, and they have a universal library. So if you have maybe 4 different templates that you use, single family dwelling, multiplex, commercial, industrial, if you open up the universal library and you make a comment to a plumbing section, it changes it not only in that template, but in every template.
Mm-hmm. And that's how ours is. Basically, the entire thing is a universal library. I mean, in that sense, as long as it's tied to a particular section, it'll update in those other sections, if that makes sense. So if you were to take my template right now and start fiddling with it and like changing the things around and renaming them and building a commercial template out of it, we can do it in such a way that when you update one of those comments, it'll update everywhere. It's using the same comment. It's just, if that makes sense.
So
If you
updated something in bathrooms, let's say you wanted to change just the way you do bathrooms, it would not only change it in your single family dwelling template, but it would also do it in your multiplex template. That's a totally different template.
That is correct, as long as you set it up correctly, and Steve and I can help you set it up so that it's like that. But that is correct, yeah. So,
okay.
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, our library is basically divided into 2 pieces, and it's that it's all a universal library unless you, and then we have a separate library just for captions. If that makes sense. The captions are kind of, here you can see, we can go to any chapter, and we can go to any section, and then I can hit show only media captions. It looks like I don't have any undergrounds, trees, and vegetation, but anyway, or show all. But yeah, I mean, and that's important because when you make a comment, when you're improving any sync library, to me, I would want all of those changes to apply to syncs pretty globally. So it doesn't have to do that, but it can do that. And it all has to do with this thing of how this is complex logic here, but this is kind of your magic of see all the different sinks that are all attached to a single library. You can see them all here. So plumbing, additional sinks, powder bath, family bath. Now you notice I don't have kitchen attached, and that's kind of my own fault of how I set the logic up. So if I make a change to my kitchen sink, it's not going to show up in the bathrooms. But we could make it do that, but I haven't. That's not how I have it figured.
One question for you.
Yeah.
Just going back to your templates, and then I know I'm kind of sidetracking. I'm trying to get my head wrapped around leaving HomeGauge.
Yep.
Is the template, again, I'm going to use the most basic of all of them, apartment style, 1-floor condo.
Mm-hmm.
We blow away 90% of the exterior and the structure and everything else. So if I built that template specific for that apartment style condo, then that template is specific for that use, but yet my comments in my library continues to change as I develop it for everything else. I can pull it out of the global. So rather than using what I've been doing, which is that autofill, back to your all's comment before, this is very similar, that the template is your autofill for those specific type properties, just as we were talking before. If I'm grasping the way this system actually works,
that's exactly,
everything's live.
That's right. So that's interesting. So for example, I have a condo full, and I think I also have a condo interior only. And so I'll use that template when I'm just doing the inside of a condo. But let's say that you have a condo interior only and you're always filling out the same comments. You could save that. You just hit this button, save condo interior only partial fill, just for lack of a better title. And now every time you pull that one out, you'll know that, boy, that's the template where I've partly filled things out, So yeah, I have never done that, but I think you could actually.
I love that, because we do those a lot where it's the interior only, and I would love to have it either be condo interior only or condo interior only pre-filled.
Yeah, exactly. Let me talk to Steve about this pre-fill. It's a really cool idea. I mean, this is really, Gary brought this idea up, but it's like if when a report is sort of filled out, if there's no reason, I don't think there's any reason in the world you can't save that as a new template, and you just start working backwards and erasing things. You know, I mean, it's kind of neat.
And see what you actually end up with what you're discussing right now, being able to do the pre-fill with the template already set up for the specific use. When you have been able to do that, and again, you better have some experience at it or you'll get burnt. But what you're now doing is a defect-only inspection of that property, which makes it so much simpler to do that inspection because you're not filling out all the known entities. You know that the main breaker's out at the meter and the
That's right.
the main
distribution.
You have to be experienced when you turn someone loose on that. They need to have been with you and understand your system for sure.
That's what I'm saying is you would have to, like myself personally, I could do that as a complete pre-fill, and then all I'm really doing is a defect-only inspection at that point.
Yep. I agree. I mean, for your guys, you're taking away a lot of the safety net. I mean, so
no, I wouldn't do that with them.
Yeah. So I know HomeGauge I think calls these styles and materials, and I call them descriptive pull downs. But I've literally built these little pull downs. This is like the sort of way to cover yourself, that I literally went through my standards of practice and just took the standards and said, okay, I'm going to make sure that all my SOP stuff is built right in here. And that way,
and that's what I've currently got in HomeGauge through the styles and materials, is exactly what you're describing there.
Yep.
But again, to my earlier statement is as you're completing this right here on this single screen,
yep,
you're seeing what is populating. Where with HomeGauge, you are in a styles and materials page. And now that you've filled it in, you have to go back over just for a sanity check. You click to see that on that Federal Pacific panel, it actually filled in on the distribution panel, as well as that aluminum wiring. You go back in and you look for where that filled in at. Where this, you're seeing it populate. So you're taking away one of the unnecessary steps of just making sure that everything's good.
Yep. No, it's really interesting. I mean, the very rudiments of this report began as like a paper report, and I kind of never wanted to fully leave that feel of like you're sitting there writing a report, if that makes sense. I don't know. And that you're working on it and you're filling it in as you go. And our mobile app is going to track with all this stuff. The thing about the mobile that's going to be simply incredible is, I mean, not only can you start filling in your styles and materials type stuff as you go, but to me, what I'm looking forward to is if I could pre-caption my pictures, it's just going to start saving me crazy time for when I get all those complicated things. It's going to be awesome.
One more question on the editing the menu at the top where it says client property information.
Yep.
You have the pin. If you click the pin, it's going to show you the things that you have deleted or added. Like click the pin at property information in the left menu. Yeah.
Yep.
And if you scroll down there, you'll see building components and conditions that have been stricken out.
Yeah,
and grounding. Well, can we? Is that delete thing? Is that will delete it?
I think
I get rid of that?
Yeah, it's weird. It's really interesting. I think it's just showing. Here, let's just try something real quick. I haven't really noticed that because I haven't used it. Let's just start a new report real quick. Let's see what happens here. So all those are gone in a new report. So all that's doing is showing you the history of in that one particular report, all the little stuff that you've done.
I see.
Does that make sense?
So that's almost a live kind of history of the things that you've taken out.
That is. What's really, let's go back.
If you wanted to bring it back, you could bring it back.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering is like if you deleted a section by accident, you might actually be able to bring it back.
Gotcha.
Yeah, look at that. Just restore the section, Steve. Steve's smarter than all of us put together, man. He's freaking
There we go.
awesome.
So that's a restore button.
It is. Yeah. So if one of your guys deleted your exterior chapter or something, you can go in there and find it again.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks.
Yeah.
Dylan?
Yep.
So, Michael, I got a question. When the mobile comes out, and if you're not hooked up to ISN or Next or whatever, can you click, like when I go to put an address in my Garmin, you know, GPS, and I just say voice command, and then I say find place. Can we click on the mobile? Can we click on the name and just say Betty Jones and have it like a dragon naturally speaking? Can we do that? Will it do that, or do you know?
I don't know yet. That's a question for Steve. That would be pretty cool. Are you picturing like you open up ScribeWare? I mean, this would be really cool. Like if you have the address already set up, you could open up your mobile app to ScribeWare on the home page, and you could hit the address, and it could like ask if you want the directions there or whatever, you know?
Well, that too, but I was just thinking, I just didn't know if the mobile app was going to be if it could be voice activated. In other words, you know, you click on the name. If you haven't got hooked up with ISN or whichever calendaring scheduling system that somebody has, if you didn't want to sit there and type it in, could you take your finger and tap on the name?
Oh, yeah. No, I think I'm pretty sure that it will be voice recognition. That's kind of my objective around it.
Okay.
Yeah, that is the goal. Particularly, I was always envisioning captioning my pictures so that I could take a picture, tap on it, and say wood decay at the northwest corner. You know.
Right. Yeah, just like you do a text. You can say, "Hey, John,
right.
I'll meet you at the restaurant, comma, blah, blah, blah."
That's right. So that is the logic, you know, where we're at with that when, I don't know, but that is the goal. And I think he's working on that like literally right now.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah. Yep. Any other comments here? Let's see.
Speaking to that, again, this is Mike out of Kentucky.
Yeah.
There is how well does this software and ISN integrate to each other?
So we haven't. It's high on our list. Although Michael out here is saying that he might be not using the ISN anymore. But I use the ISN, and so I just copy and paste the client name and the property address, and then when I publish a report, let's just do this. I'm going to publish without sending an email. So publish is really quick because there's nothing in this one hardly. Here's, you know, I hit this and I copy that link, and then I just paste it into the ISN. So it works great. The big time saving that I would like to build in that we don't have is I would love it to like bring in the client name and the property address for us. From the ISN.
With having multiple guys, that's almost a must.
Yeah. So I mean, Mike and Mike. You guys should meet each other. But Mike Wickland is a multi-inspector firm in Puyallup, and then Mike, what's your last name? In Kentucky, Paxton. Is that right? Paxton. Yeah, is from Kentucky with a multi-inspection firm. So, you know, that would be big for us that you guys could, you know, not need to copy over the client name and email address and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, that's a matter of just talking to Steve and getting a priority where we get that knocked out. We've talked to the ISN about it. It just hasn't been top of our list.
Yeah, they'll do it for you. I mean, they're willing to do it. Just about anybody. All you got to do is talk to Chris and
that's right.
Dan Huber, and boy, you know, you could have it done in a week or a couple of days.
Yep. No, I think how it works is they just send us the code and then we have to do the work to integrate it, which is fine. But I think it's work on Steve's end that he's just been busy building the mobile app and some of these other things that you're seeing.
He needs no sleep. ISN integrate, and you've got me hooked.
All right. Well, I mean, those are the kind of things that, like, if I can get Steve the data there, then you know, that starts pushing him over. And we actually have a development crew that they're pretty expensive, but they're good, and we've been hiring them out. A feature that I can't show you quite yet, but we should have by the end of the year is, I'll show you. We haven't spent any time on a finished report, but I'll show you that real quick. Let's just pull up one that I did. But the end user will be able to build their own custom summary page from the report. So if this is a finished report, in theory, they could go through and they'll be able to check things and start adding them to their own custom summary page. That's important out here in Washington because they've changed the rules where the real estate agents are no longer allowed to disclose an inspection report. So if a buyer's agent is requesting things, it's more likely they would get permission to send over, the 2 or 3 things that they're asking for, as opposed to the entire report. And so now agents and clients will be able to assemble their own summary page, which is pretty cool. But
yeah, Bill and I ran that by a couple of realtors recently, and they're like, wow. They're like, I can't believe you're that on it, because that's a new rule that changed in the MLS here. And they're like, I can't believe you guys are on that already. And they go,
yeah, I'm psyched. I know.
We're pretty excited about it.
Well, we'd love your guys' support. These things cost us a lot of money. I mean, we're working super hard on building all these features, but it's going to be killer. I mean, and its agents are going to just love that, because now they can go through and just take all these things and make their own little report. But so this is what the finished report looks like. All the way at the top is where, these guys, this one you may or may not do. I love this, but I write a custom just kind of overview of the house. Really time consuming, but I'm a single man show and I charge a lot, and this is just a little sort of brown nosy stuff I do. So every comment that you make shows up in the summary page, with the exception of those description things. So here are my major concerns, my repairs, improvements, items to monitor, due diligence items, meaning future project or things to inquire further about, like a buried oil tank or something, future projects, and notes. And you can click in any of these sections. Here are your major concerns. Now, let's say you're reading this and you're like, boy, I wonder what's up with the roof. I can click on this hot link, and that's going to bring me right to the chapter where I can get the pictures and everything. And here you can see I used that bulleted list, and here's all my pictures, and they're captioned and stuff. Michael brought up the other day that I think we have a little bit of improvement. Just we'd like to make these lay out a little bit better. I think that was on his list of stuff to do, but still a pretty great looking report. And then when you get into the full report, where it just says report, this lists all of the chapters, and then it shows the number of comments within each chapter. So we can just start at the top and just start scrolling. You see these descriptor things just show up, and these are not in the summary page, but this just shows some wiring stuff. A little beehive that I found up in the attic. Clearance to grade issues here. Those are the old pipes. We filled that one in. Deteriorated concrete, pruning the vegetation off the house. A client can scroll around. They could go right again to one of my metrics of a great report is the client should be able to quickly see if there's something wrong with the roof. They can go into roof and boom, there it is. So it's a very interactive report. Michael from Kentucky was concerned that in another software you really have to click things to open it to see the full report, and that's really not true with ScribeWare. I mean, you can start at the top and literally just scroll all the way down. You can also print this. You can print the report to paper. You can print the report to a PDF. You can only print the summary to a PDF, or you can just print the additional inspection items. Right now, you have to manually set those additional inspection items. But again, once we have that feature, every client and realtor will be able to just build their own little list there.
Other question for you, and again, sorry for my ignorance on your software here, but are your reports delivered PDF, or are they still live on the web here with a link to it? What is your process?
So I deliver these are HTML reports, so they live in our secure server, so nobody can go find them. They're totally secure. But I deliver the HTML, and then I let then the end user, the realtors where I work, a lot of them print out the PDFs of these things. So I let the end user do that. If you wanted to, you could print the PDF, but you don't have to.
So are you, if you were to describe to me just your delivery process, you just finished this report. How are you delivering? What mechanism are you using to deliver now to your client, your realtor, whomever's receiving it?
So I can do it 2 different ways. I'm just going back to kind of a sample to show you. So let's say we're done. We've written this report. We're all done. You go up here and you hit publish. Now, a few things about publishing, which is cool. Once you publish it, you create a link. and let's say you update. So let's say let's say I've published it once. Here's a cool example. Let's say you did a home inspection and the client's like, look, I can wait until the next day for the report, but you got to get me the roofing section right away. So you can pound out the roofing section, you hit publish report. If you have the client and realtor email addresses, you can hit publish without sending, or excuse me, you can hit publish and send email, and that'll just send. That's all you have to do. You hit this one button, publish and send email, and you're done. It'll send it to the client, and if you have the agent's contact info, it'll send it to them. So that's the fastest way, and you're literally like, once the client and agent information is in there, you're hitting one push of the button and you're done. The other way you can do it is publish without sending an email. And when you do that, it creates this little link that's at the base of the property information page, and then you can just copy and paste that link into the ISN or send an email.
So there's no password requirements, there's no usernames, they just go to the URL.
They just go to the URL. That's right.
And
it's really
the question I've been asked.
Yeah, go ahead.
Question I've been asked in the past is if that's not a password protected URL, is there any way that somebody can sit out there and find this report without having authorization to it? In other words, you know, somebody knows that you just did it for Mr. Smith and it's Pegasus Court. Is there any way of going in here and Googling and finding
this?
There's
absolutely no way you'll find it. It's in a secure server. And it's really no less secure than sending a PDF. I mean, once you send a PDF, someone can send it to whoever they want. So you could send it out and someone like a realtor could take the link and send it to a different realtor.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But they could do the same thing with a PDF.
Yes.
And I know what you mean. I actually am asking Steve at some point. He's really slammed on the mobile app, but I kind of want to write a little blog. I have once had a client think that it was a live website that anybody could Google and find. And I was like, no. There's no way. There's no way you can Google it and find it. It's you know, it's in this like encrypted code that's I mean, maybe some Russian hacker who spends weeks at it or something, but for all intents and purposes, it's wildly secure.
One other deep question. Is there a log system that is attached to each job? So if I go in and edit it after I've sent it, it records that I have touched the report and changed it?
That's correct. And that's a really important legal thing. You know, if you were getting sued and you went back in and you like changed the thing that you were getting sued over, and you know, we would have copies of all of it, you know. So we keep a copy every time it's published in our servers.
Excellent, thank you.
But as far as grabbing a log of it and showing the IP address and the time that report has been tapped into, say 6 months from now, the client looks at it again, would your system show that IP address for the client logged into the system and read their online report again?
It probably wouldn't show the client that it's been modified. It does show the home inspector that the report has been modified since the original publishing.
Dylan?
So the reason I'm asking is that during a lawsuit, usually, especially when this one happens, and I won't tell you that I'm directly involved in that, but if someone the other side asked for the log of all activity on the report, and Spectoros, who I'm kind of currently working with right now, and they have a way that you just click log, and it shows all activity and the dates and the IP address that have actually brought that report to screen.
Yeah.
Just FYI that.
Yeah, cool. That's good data. Yeah, I think we have that, but I think right now it's all on our back end. And so basically what you're saying in Spectora, you could hit a log button and it would show all those different iterations of it.
Correct.
Cool.
If you deliver it with ISN does the same thing.
Interesting.
And see, that's part of the reason I'm asking questions I am is if this is just a straight URL, ISN will deliver this for us at this point by just putting in the URL, and then ISN becomes our master database, where HomeGauge currently is where I look for my histories, just as you were just discussing.
No,
So
you can copy this URL and paste it right into the ISN. That's what I do.
and that's what I'm saying. I understand that part, but now ISN will also track that. Is that a correct statement?
That's
I
correct.
don't.
Yeah, that's correct.
I don't know if it
Because
would
we use
track.
HomeGauge and we use ISN, and when we put our URL in ISN, it delivers it as a HTML document and or a link, and then it also, anytime someone opens it up, I've had people open the report 2 years later, and I get a text saying, "Hey, Joe Blow just opens a report from 2017."
Yeah.
And you pucker more, don't you?
I know
I used to, but not anymore. I mean,
No, I don't much either,
they're getting ready to sell a house or something, and they're wanting to look at it usually.
it does always make you wonder, though.
Spectora has that same, and I turned, it's toggable. I togged it off because it was bugging me bad.
I would not want that either, as far as just pinging you every time it's been opened. But what you're doing there, back to the lawsuit conversation, is you're continuing to build your own capabilities of defending when the report was opened versus when the agreement was signed, when the payments were made. You're building your track record as far as where you're going with it. And from a liability standpoint, it just helps you to be on solid ground as you go forward.
Yep, that makes sense. Now,
it shuts down the realtor that says nobody ever saw it and we haven't seen it yet, and why haven't you? And you look at it and you say, well, you looked at it yesterday, Mary, and you looked at it 2 weeks ago, Mary.
Yeah. No, that's good. So when you guys, for the ISN integration, I mean, in a perfect world, then when you hit publish, we would also have a new feature that would say, publish without sending email, publish and send email, publish and upload to ISN, publish and
yes,
upload.
Sir.
Yeah.
It would probably just be, and somebody else to correct me because I don't use ISN for my delivery of the report today, but that would be basically publish to ISN, and then ISN would take it from there as far as how it was distributed.
That's right. Yep.
Awesome idea.
Yeah, no, that'd be sweet. And basically, it's the same concept. We just need to integrate with those guys. So, and it's on our list. And again, I mean, if you guys are talking to Steve, you let him know, and then that becomes a priority. And we could even bring in some outside help to get that done more quickly if it's really urgent. But
that would be with having multiple people. And I hate to dominate the conversation. That's not my intention.
No, it's great.
It is with having multiple inspectors. If they have to put in the information on the front end for the customer, the agents, and everything else, that's just one more huge opportunity to screw up. And you know how pissed off people get when you misspell their name?
Yep. Yeah, totally. No, and I mean, you're dealing with such volume that it's like, that's just a lot of, for a single guy, it doesn't matter that much to me, but I get it. You're dealing with huge volume. So, yeah. Well, I mean, I can have a conversation with Steve in the morning of just sort of how we can get that done as soon as possible,
I think he'll blow you up if you get it done.
Yeah, no, I think it's been on our list for a while. We've just you can see our logic of what we've been trying to build out is really focusing on the report, on trying to make a report that's kind of different and better and easier to use, and then you can add all this layers of bling on top of that. But it just wasn't our priority to start with that stuff. We wanted to really try to get the report part of it right, if that makes sense. So that's where our time has been at the moment.
Another round of applause.
Oh, thanks, Gary. No, I appreciate it. It's frustrating because some of the features are a little bit slower to come around, but they keep coming at us. We keep building out this stuff. It's great. And Steve is an artist with this stuff. The things he builds work really well and are beautiful and kind of easy to use and stable. We don't really have data loss issues. What he builds is awesome. He's not the speed demon. He doesn't crank it out overnight. It takes him a little time, but he builds beautiful stuff. So that's just kind of who we are as as a company. Cool, guys. Well, I should probably get going. And do you guys have any other immediate quick questions we can go over? Do you guys want to?
You covered mine. Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
The only other question I've gotten, we discussed it earlier tonight, was the actual physical NPMA form. Can we incorporate forms into the software?
So how I was thinking of doing that, we can't, and that it is an idea of something I've been thinking about, is like ways to add PDFs or things and incorporate them in. But this is my wood destroying organisms section, and we can open this up and basically just copy the NPMA form to some degree just right within here.
But for lenders, it has to be the NPMA form.
Yeah, and so that's a question for Steve then, is how we do the NPMA form. I don't know.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
That's really, if I can kind of elaborate here just a second, is you all have shown me a lot of opportunities, and it's a fresh look at it. I've not researched much at all on any softwares in years, and Mike Paris, I'm going to give him kudos again. He's the one that brought this up to me some time ago. We had shared a lot of the same frustrations with our current software. He's been more than pleased with your software, and he's more of a techie, and he may be even a little harder to please than what I am, which, sorry about that, but I think we can be hard to please. But you're showing me something here that I think once you figure out the logic of it, it looks like a very solid platform, easy to use in the field. So I appreciate your time, and again, didn't mean to dominate conversations, but I really do appreciate what you've done here.
Awesome. Thanks for being here, Michael, and you great questions and stuff. Really appreciate your time on it too, man. So yeah, we'd love to work with you guys, and I know, particularly bigger companies, we got to get a few pieces in place for you guys, like ISN integration. And I think, Michael, you're switching over to Nathan's thing, aren't you? Wicklund, Michael?
Yeah, I believe we are first of the year.
Okay. Yeah. So it's another integration. So, we need, if you guys are, Mike Wicklund, I know we're really moving in that way. I'm actually going to be driving down on Wednesday to build a template with you guys. And so we need to figure out, these must have things and get them on the list and get them knocked out for you. So if to the degree to which you're putting your chips in, then that's the degree to which we can kind of move forward on it if there's a couple little key things and try to get them done.
Mm-hmm.
And
Sounds
you
good.
are going to be down in Inspection World, right?
Yeah. I'm teaching fiber cement siding down there on the last day, and we'll have a booth down there and stuff. So if you make it down, you could meet Steve, our programmer, and we could even set up. I mean, if you're going to be down there, we could set up a time to meet at some point. We could sit down and show you stuff. Mano y mano. live.
Gives me a reason to come down besides just eating a lot of crawfish etouffee, as I mentioned earlier. I can sit and wait and that stuff.
Oh, I love that etouffee. That's the good stuff. All right, guys. Well, and Gary, thanks for joining in. Everybody, it was a great meeting. I appreciate all your questions and everybody being here. Anybody have any last questions before I sign off?
Yeah, is Brent still on?
Brent, it looks like, I think he took off.
Okay.
Yeah, it might have been too home inspector based for him.
I'll give him a call.
Yeah, give him a call. I need to help him build out his infrared template.
Look forward to seeing you on Wednesday. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll see you on Wednesday, Michael. And thanks again, guys. Fun meeting. And we'll keep trying to do these here periodically so that we all have some fun with it.
Good chat. Thank you.
All right. Cheers, guys. Have a good weekend. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Bye.